Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. We're moving on to round 10, so we're in double figures now in the Premier League. But quick recap on round 9. I got no scores correct. I feel like I'm saying that very often at the moment, and I'm struggling a bit with getting scores right. But I got 6 of the results correct, so I only got 4 completely wrong. I'm happy to get as many results correct. If I'm getting over half, that's pretty decent. But obviously, I want to start getting some scores correct, and hopefully, there's a few correct scores in here. So let's see what I've predicted. And starting off with Saturday's early kickoff, Leicester versus Arsenal. Now, this has been a pretty entertaining game in recent years. I do remember a few years ago Leicester having the upper hand on them and really making it look like they were going to get that Champions League spot. So this could go either way. Now Leicester, they weren't looking good. They haven't really impressed me at all. And then they beat Man United 4-2 and Brentford 2-1. So 2 good wins there. And they'll be hoping they can carry on that form and start climbing up the league. Arsenal, they're unbeaten in 6. And they beat Villa 3-1 last time out. And they looked really impressive. They obviously conceded late. But they were very good for that first half. It reminded me of the Arsenal-Tottenham game where they won that 3-1 as well, and they were brilliant in the first half. So, for this one, I think, as I said, it could go either way, but Leicester have only kept 1 clean sheet this season, which is obviously very worrying. And I just see Arsenal getting the upper hand on them here. So I'm going to go Arsenal to win 2-1. On to Burnley versus Brentford next. And Burnley, they still haven't won a game. But they have drawn 3 of their last 4. So they're not losing as many anymore. They're turning them into draws. They'll be hoping they can start winning. I'm not so sure. Now Brentford, they've lost 2 in a row, which is the first time that's happened this season. And it's quite surprising, but they have played difficult teams. They've played Chelsea and Leicester. So you can't really be surprised if they're losing games like that, as long as they're winning games like this. Brentford, they still haven't lost a game on the road yet this season, so I'm going to go Brentford to win this 2-1. On to Liverpool versus Brighton. And Liverpool, they've won 2 games in a row 5-0 now. They beat Watford 5-0 and they beat Man United 5-0. And that game against Man United, it was just crazy. Nothing against Liverpool, but I genuinely think Liverpool didn't really do too much out of the ordinary. If they were playing any other team in the Premier League on that day, I don't think they'd have won by as big a margin. But Man United were genuinely defending like a non-league team. They were leaving massive gaps. They were running into each other. It was so easy for Liverpool. Man United were trying to press, but it just wasn't working. It was completely disjointed. It was leaving one player at the back. For the first goal, I'm pretty sure it was Luke Shaw just at the back by himself, and about 3 Liverpool players all through against him. So, Man United, they just can't defend at the moment. They're terrible. And Liverpool, they obviously took their chances. Fair play to them. Won 5-0. But I don't think it was... they really had to try. They didn't seem to get out of really second gear. They just walked past them. But obviously Liverpool in great form, unbeaten, and they're playing a Brighton team who haven't won now in 4, and they lost last time out 4-1 to Man City. I can see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet against them, but I'll go for 1 less goal. I'll go Liverpool to win 3-0. On to Man City versus Palace. And Man City, last time out, they beat Brighton 4-1. And they just look as good as they always do. They can really rotate their team a lot. They've got about 16 first team players, realistically, because they're so interchangeable in so many positions. And they just look really good. I can't see them losing too many games this season. They obviously lost on the first day to Tottenham. That was just, I think it was just a bit of a bad day at the office, but they never normally have those. Man City's opponents, Palace, they are they're doing okay. They're playing some good football, but they keep conceding at the end of matches, and it's really messing it up for them. They've drawn 4 games in a row, but they've only lost 2 this season. So they're not doing terribly. They've drawn the most in the league, and I'd be half tempted to say that they'd get a point here if Man City weren't so good attackingly. For that reason, I think it's going to be quite a tight game. Obviously, City dominating possession, but Palace will have their chances in this one. If they take them, it could be a different story. But I'm going to go City to win 2-1. On to Newcastle versus Chelsea. Newcastle, they still haven't got a win in the league, but they picked up their first point without Steve Bruce in the first game without him, and it was a 1-1 draw with Crystal Palace. They'll be hoping, obviously, they can progress, but this is a difficult follow-up game. So I'm expecting this to be quite comfortable for Chelsea. Chelsea keep winning, and they're top of the league. They just beat Norwich 7-0. They absolutely annihilated them. And I think that sort of showed how bad Norwich were. But it also showed how good Chelsea were. Mason Mount scored a hat-trick. And I just think Chelsea, they're going to win this really comfortably. I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea. On to Watford versus Southampton. And Watford, they obviously lost 5-0 to Liverpool in Ranieri's first game. And that was just a terrible performance. They were probably on a level with how bad Man U were last week against Liverpool. And then the next week, they're 2-1 down against Everton, and they end up winning 5-2 with 4 pretty quick goals. I can't remember how quick it was, but I'm pretty sure they scored about 4 goals in the last 20 minutes of that game. Joshua King scored a hat-trick against his former club. I know he didn't really play much for Everton, but he was there. And they'll be wondering why he wasn't given the chance, considering he's just scored a hat-trick against them. But nevertheless, Watford, they're very difficult to call. Ranieri's first game against Liverpool, it's difficult to call it a first game because they were absolutely battered. And in hindsight, I guess Watford to win. Liverpool were always going to win that game because they've just got too much quality. For Watford's first possible winnable game, and it's against a difficult Everton side, they played really well. So I'm thinking they might start doing a bit better now under Ranieri. Southampton, their last game they drew 2-2 with Burnley, and they'll be worried because Burnley haven't picked up a win all season. They're in the relegation zone at the moment, and Southampton would want to be winning a game like that if they want to survive. So they've got issues at the moment, and I think Watford are going to capitalise on that. I'm going to go Watford to win 2-1. On to Spurs versus Man U now. And Spurs, they lost their last game 1-0 against West Ham. They never really look that good when I watch them. They always seem to... They just don't do much. And it's a bit worrying, but they're in a decent league position at the moment. Man United, they've picked up 1 point from their last 4 Premier League games, and that was in a 1-1 draw against Everton. So they are really struggling at the moment, and I'm worried about them. There's rumours that Solskjaer has had 3 games, been given 3 games to try and get something to save his job, basically. I'm not sure how true those rumours are, because if they're telling him he's only got 3 games left, then I doubt he'd want to really be there if he's under that sort of pressure, because he just knows it will happen again when he starts losing again. But it's a difficult game to call. This, like Spurs won 6-1 last season in this game, it could go 6-1 either team. Man U, obviously, they're pretty good at attacking. They're so disjointed at the back. I'm pretty sure they've kept 1 clean sheet so far in the league this season, which is less than Norwich, who are bottom of the league, and they only have 2 points. And the only games they've got points from, they've kept clean sheets in. So, worried for Man U, but I'm also not that convinced by Tottenham. So, it could go 6-1 either way. it could be anything. It could just be a crazy game. I'm definitely going to be watching it, but I've just got to call it down the middle, as they're both not really convincing me at the moment. So they're both going to score. They both can't really defend. 2-2. Norwich versus Leeds next. And Norwich, they were starting to look a bit better. They weren't scoring, but they had 2-0 draws in a row. And they were keeping clean sheets. They were keeping the goals out, which is a big thing for Norwich, as they've conceded in every other game so far this season. And then they went and played Chelsea and they got smacked about the park 7-0. So it feels like they're going back to square one with that result. And I'd understand losing to Chelsea. Chelsea are a very good team, but conceding 7, that is very worrying. Leeds, they aren't playing too great either. They've only got 1 win this season, and they're really missing some of their key players. Bamford, Calvin Phillips, Rafinha has been in and out of the starting lineup, and I'm pretty sure he got injured in their last game, so he probably won't be here. If Norwich don't manage to get anything from this game, if they lose it, I fear they're already down. I know a lot of people called it at the start of the season. A lot of people then said that, it's too early to say someone's down. They have had some difficult games in there, but 2 points from 9 games is just, you're never going to survive on that. If they kept that up throughout the season, obviously there's 36 games, they'd finish on 8 points, which you just can't do in the Premier League. Obviously, you'd be relegated. It'll be the lowest points tally ever. And I'm hoping for their sake it doesn't come to that. But they don't look like picking up many points. And although Leeds don't either, I think Leeds are going to win this. They have to, because if they don't win it, they're in a bit of trouble as well. They're just sitting above the relegation zone. They haven't been playing very well. And if they can't win a game like this, I'm a bit worried about them. But I think they will, so it's fine. Leeds to win 1-0. On to Villa against West Ham. Villa, they have lost 3 in a row. They're in bad form. They lost the last one 3-1 against Arsenal. Arsenal did play very well, but that, to be fair, is a fixture that Villa have had the better of over the last few seasons. I'm pretty sure they did the double over Arsenal last season, and although obviously that's not very realistic to go and do it every season because they did it once, they would have wanted a bit of a better performance than they put in. So they're struggling. West Ham, on the other hand, they're doing very well. They beat Spurs 1-0 in the league, and midweek they knocked Man City out of the Carabao Cup, aka the Man City Cup, for the first time in 5 years, which is ridiculous. They'd won it 4 years in a row, and Man City are out of the Carabao Cup, so I wonder who's going to win it. But West Ham now, in consecutive rounds, have knocked out Man United and Man City. So fair play to them, and I think they could be one of the favourites to carry on. They're knocking out all the big teams. Why can't they progress even further and get closer to the final, maybe get their hands on a trophy this season? They're doing well in the Europa League as well. They're clear at the top of their group. They've won all games, and they're having a very good season. I wish I'd have predicted them higher in my Premier League table prediction at the start of the season, but I didn't, and I'm regretting it. For this game, I think West Ham, they've got too much. The one thing that sort of could go in Villa's favour is that West Ham played midweek, Villa didn't, so West Ham might not be as fresh, but they did rest quite a few of their main players, West Ham, in the week, so they'll all be fit, and I can see West Ham winning this one 2-1. On to Wolves versus Everton. Wolves, they drew 1-1 with Leeds last time out. They had won 3 in a row before that, and they were in very good form, but they got a draw. They're still on a little unbeaten run, and they'll be hoping it continues here. Everton, they obviously lost 5-2 to Watford. And Richarlison did come on and score in that game, but they desperately need Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin both back fully fit, because they're now starting to struggle a bit. And I'm thinking for this one, Wolves, they probably will have more of the chances. It's just whether they can be clinical enough to put them away, because they have struggled this season for taking their chances. I know at the start of the season they were playing some great football, creating a shed load of chances, but just weren't scoring goals. Can they do it here? I think they can. If Watford can put 5 past Everton, I think Wolves can put enough past them to beat them. I'm going to go for Wolves to win this one 3-2. So that's it. Those are my predictions for the 10th round of Premier League fixtures. Could Ole Gunnar Solskjaer be finally sacked? Could Norwich claim their first win? I guess we'll see this weekend. Please let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, and put your predictions down in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Premier League content.